The second in our series on the Gulf War I experience of a captured Tornado pilot. Group Captain Dave Waddington has spent the last 6 months as the Commander of Camp Bastion, but in 1991 he was flying a mission over the Iraqi desert when he was shot down. In an earlier programme we heard how he and his navigator bailed out but landed apart. With his arms dislocated, he fought to evade capture but was caught and incarcerated in a Baghdad prison, along with American and Italian prisoners of war. He was tortured and neither his family nor the RAF knew whether he was still alive. Julie Knox picks up the final part of his story as airstrikes saw his ordeal come to an end.
I was kept in solitary confinement in a cell which for 3 weeks at this prison in Baghdad. That for whatever reason, I would sort of like to banter that I got a punishment cell. So, but it had no windows, so it was completely pitch black. And so for 3 weeks I was in the dark, and the only way I could mark the passage of time was by listening for the air raids, which I knew happened at night, and then mark off another day. And interesting, there was a period at the end of February when I think President Gorbachev negotiated a 2-day ceasefire. Of course, I had no idea about that, and I had no idea about the sort of scale of time. So that for me was just a long day.
So for your family in England, for your parents, for your fiancée, it must have been an horrific ordeal.
Yeah, they've been told that I was missing in action. And so, each day they live with that hope. But your feelings are always one that you can never give up. Tomorrow is always going to be the day that you're going to be released. And you can never give up that hope. So every day is a struggle. But actually, you do survive it.
What had happened to your navigator?
The prison was bombed, or the area of the prison was bombed. And it sort of blew the roof in, and for the first time we were able to sort of shout out to each other and find out who was there. I mean, the bombing of the jail just happened so quick, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. So that was very, very frightening indeed. Being at the other end of an aerial bombardment, everyone was shouting out as we were doing a bit of a roll call. So and actually I shouted out, has anyone heard of what happened to Robbie Stewart? And he called back saying, yeah, I'm here, Dave. But he'd broken his leg, so he mentioned that as well. So, and it was quite mixed emotions, because there was a certain comfort of being together, but then a sort of great disappointment that actually he hadn't made his escape.
And how did you learn of the outcome of the campaign?
There'd been some sonic booms, and of course we knew that the Iraqi Air Force had essentially been wiped out, or essentially was certainly grounded. So if anything was flying sonic booms, it must have been our coalition Air Force. So we sensed there was a culmination of the event, the experience really. We hoped it would be a good one, but clearly we weren't absolutely sure. And then the day after that, one of the Iraqi guards just came into my cell. And he said, "Mr. David, the war is over. We can be friends now. You're going home." And then they came round, and clearly we hadn't washed, we hadn't shaved or anything for 6.5 weeks. And they came round and they shaved us, but there was only a single big sort of disposable razor, and I think I was about 25th in the queue. So that was that was pretty much torture. But anyway, and then we were released, but we were blindfolded again as we were released. So there was that slight apprehension about exactly what was going to happen to us, but actually we were handed over to the Red Cross and waited for a flight to come home.
And how did you look at that stage?
Well, I was a lot thinner. So when I was released, I think I weighed about 8.5 stone, because we essentially been pretty much on a starvation diet throughout. So I had a little bit more hair than I do now. But clearly my sort of face was still scarred, my arms were still injured. But I suppose more than anything, how I looked when I came down the stairs of the aeroplane was happy to be alive and happy to be free.
Do you feel that you failed on that mission?
They actually found the accident data recorder. Very, very fortunately, it was just lying in the desert. So actually we could get the tape recordings from the moments right up until sort of being hit by the missile. And we could see what the aeroplane was doing. So it's important to look through that and think, okay, what did I do? What could we have done better? you know, what would happen if I was confronted with this situation again? So we went through all of those sort of emotions, you know. I say we, certainly I did, yeah, and you know, but ultimately, you know, flying fast jets was my life's dream, and despite going through an experience like that, that sort of remained absolutely what I wanted to do. And indeed, sort of many years later, flying over Iraq on subsequent missions, again with the kit that we now have on the aeroplane, you can still sort of see the hole at the edge of this particular airfield in Iraq.
And you know that's your mark.
Indeed, that's right. Yeah, as do of course, you know, the last time I went back to Iraq, flying over there was as a squadron commander of Number 9 Bomber Squadron, and so of course for all the junior pilots and navigators, you know, then this was the practice target, as where, you know, where the boss's hole was.
I suppose this episode's followed you through the rest of your career.
There's a particular sort of military humour where we don't, you know, we hold very serious things, but we tend to level them down to a place where we can cope with them. So, and that's certainly the case. You know, certainly the humour and the banter was there. You know, very soon after coming back to the squadron back in 1991, and has been through with me for the rest of my career. And thankfully, so it allows you to compartmentalise those sort of experiences and be able to cope with it.